All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13, as we are preparing to get underway now for the second stint in C Lobby for TORA's 9 hours of Kylami. Our first stint had a lot of action for about second on back, but it was the HYR team that took home the top spot, and now HYR Bookie is going to be trying and replicating that exact same performance. So very, very interesting first run. Can the HYR drivers continue that exact same run here in Stint 2? Real quickly, we have 19 drivers again. Bonandori is going to be representing the Porsche GT3. Kalishim 54, who was last of the runners who didn't have any incident in the last time, he's going back-to-back stints. AR Izzy is representing the other Acura. Zula 808 is in the Audi. NWR Enzo is in the other Acura, and it looks like already they're about to get on circuit here, so we're going to go ahead and start the ticker right away here. I'll start the ticker once I see the clock go, but all right, waiting for the clock in the game, and then we can start the actual clock countdown. All right, and 90-minute clock has started now. HYR Bookie, that team put the car on the pole in Stint 1. They'll be doing the same in Stint 2 here. So real quickly, we're going to change our camera perspective here. All right, and this is your pole sitter for Stint 2. Same car that won Stint 1 is the 32 BMW by HYR Bookie. Right behind them is going to be Zula 808 in that 156 Audi. Then behind them is going to be AWR Nismo. Now this car only came home in about 6th position at the end of Stint 1, so he's got a bit of a uphill battle. Then behind Nismo is going to be AR Izzy, running one of the Acuras. Then SFM Darkster. Darkster is going to be doing a miniature Ironman challenge. As far as I understand, they're going to be doing stints 2, 3, 4 all in a row. They might end up doing stint 5 as well, but I know they're doing 2, 3, and 4 all in a row. After Darkster is LMP Exploit. This car brought home second in the fire stint. LMP Clinzy just a little bit behind in the 825 machine. Then, as we look farther down the order, in 8th is going to be FTC Sakura. Sakura lagged out very late in the final stint, so they're trying to dig themselves and that team out of a hole in that number 17 machine. Just behind them, RZM Salty, the only Lexus in the field in that number 6 machine. Then it is going to be X-Raptor 369 in the 346 Audi. Just behind Raptor is going to be this man here in the Mercedes. I believe the only Mercedes in the field in this lobby. ZR Fabrics in the number 318 Mercedes. Then behind them, X3 Art is also going first to second stint here in that number 690 McLaren today. Behind X3 Art is going to be NFL Racer, sharing the car with Maybe Racing. Maybe did not have a great run the first stint, but NFL Racer in number 31 will be looking to try and turn that around. Just behind them is going to be Neblo 8433. And we saw this Cadillac might have been in contention for a potential podium, but it all fell apart as the tires burnt up on a bad strategy. So Nebel, we know the Cadillac has speed, but he needs to maximize what they can do out of it. Behind Nebel is going to be RZN Nix. Nix is going to continue for AX4X, who lagged out very early in the last stint, in that number 25. So they are really trying to dig themselves out of a hole. Then you have Bonandori in that 742 Porsche. Behind Bonandori is NWR Enzo in the 157. What is that? Oh. Sorry, I don't really like this camera very much. Then you have C1 Clash in 54. They are going to be 18th. And then rounding out the back of the field will be D. Chris Slow in the 827 Audi. And that will be the run down for today's event. You can see the field all bunched up there. Excuse me. As our clock is ticking down now, 90 minutes. It took them about 5 minutes to get underway in Stint 1. A little curious to see how long it's going to take here in Stint 2. All right, it looks like the field is starting to get underway here. Through turn 1, that is the entire field. And we focus on HYR Bookie. Again, they're not going to do a full pace lap. They will get to a pre-designated part on the track and then accelerate from there. Field files out of turn 3. HYR's Team 8 dominated Stint 1. Can Bookie do the same? I'll have an Audi on his rear end immediately. Can they defend? Through the semi-blind right-hander, and we are underway. And immediately we're seeing movement farther back, but Bookie is able to start pulling out the gap immediately. Here is SFM Darkster, one of the faces of TORA, running on the inside there. One of the few drivers who are still sticking with that Bentley on the outside, trying to get a big run up the hill on the Acura of AR Izzy. Side by side, neck and neck. As it gets to the top of the hill, Izzy has the preferred inside line choice. Darkster will fall in line behind, will try the crossover on corner exit. The track really tightens up, but they will keep it together. And Darkster on the inside of Izzy, trying to drag that nerfed Aston into the 4th position, but the Acura is not letting him have it. And Bookie is not pulled away as much as we thought he would, and Darkster slides wide. FTC Sakura moves up into 6th farther back. But at the head of the field, Bookie is not opening up the gap on Zula, and then AWR Nismo is there in 3rd out of the final corner and now accelerating onto the front straightaway. Here comes Nismo trying to make a move to the inside of Zula, and if these two fight for long enough, it will let Bookie start to stretch his legs and get away a little bit. But Zula will defend against Nismo for the moment. BMW, Audi, Bentley make up our top 3. Then 4th place is an Aston Martin. 5th place is a McLaren. As Izzy has slipped back to 6th now. Side by side for 2nd position. Nismo trying to go on the extreme outside of Zula. Zula is going to shut the door gradually at the end of the sweeper. Zula still holding on to 2nd, but it seems like Zula is doing more defense back than fighting forward. Right now, the entire field is on top of each other, and D. Chris Slow all the way back at the rear of the grid has not lost the field yet, so it seems like our field is a little bit tighter here than what we saw in the early parts of Stint 1. All right, Zula closing in just a little bit on Bookie on the run up to the top of the hill. Zula runs right behind Bookie here. The BMW slides a little wide, keeps the car on track. Here comes Zula diving to the inside. Only 1 lap in Stint 1 was not led by an HYR BMW, but looks like that might not be the case here. Bookie is showing some weakness, and Zula has gotten by in the Audi. As they go through the final corner, Bookie gets right on Zula's rear bumper out of the final corner, and yes, it will only take 2 laps, but a non-BMW goes to the lead here at Kylami here in Stint 2. Now Nismo looks to the inside as there is a fight now for 3rd. Nismo dives to the inside and will not be able to make the overtake. They back out of it. All 3 drivers have a slightly different bad line in turn 1. The entire field very close to each other right now. That is SFM Darkster who's in the Aston just behind. He wants to try and make something happen. That Aston didn't really have a great performance in Stint 1. Not a bad one, but definitely not a great one. Darkster wants to turn that around. And FTC Sakura is behind. We know Sakura is one of the faster drivers here. But does Sakura have the ability to actually bring home a finish here? Or will their car or internet or console or game, whoever it was that went bad last stint, will it happen again? Nismo losing touch just a little bit with the BMW and the Audi up front, meaning that he has to defend against Darkster on the run uphill. On the top of the field, the BMW is all sorts of sideways at the top of the hill, so Bookie has completely lost touch with Zula, it seems, and now Nismo. Does he make the move on the BMW? Not now, not yet. No Sateo through this high-speed blind left-hander. Nismo looks to the extreme outside. Bookie, all sorts of sideways. Nismo still trapped behind. Second through fifth, all nose to tail. Oh, and that's the BMW off and into the tires. Is there damage to the car? I don't think so. He was right by pit lane entry. No, there is damage. Bookie has engine damage. And what had been a fantastic start for the HYR in Stint 1 all falls apart in the first 3 laps of Stint 2. Bookie is not even close to the top 5. This also puts Darkster up into 3rd position behind AWR Nismo, although FTC Sakura is trying to nip back by for that position. Zula, though, is at the front, trying to pull away. He is pulling away, honestly, at this stage of the event. Darkster outside of Sakura. If they can stay side by side, then Darkster will have the line of choice in this following corner. But Sakura's lunges on the outside keeps the car relatively straight and on track, and Sakura will hold the position. Sakura running uphill. SFM Darkster now moves to the inside of Sakura. Neck and neck at the top of the hill. A little bit of a side-to-side contact between the two. This is the fight for 3rd overall. Zula is opening the gap on the rest of the field right now, and Nismo is trying to streak away from these two as well. Ooh. McLaren kind of high-sides it just a little bit. Sakura still holds ahead of Darkster. Darkster has a look to the inside in the final corner. Gets the door shut on him. So it seems like right now this fight for 4th has calmed down just a little bit. And here's something interesting though. Unlike in the last stint where one driver streaked away early on, this time it's the top 4 that have streaked away. As a big gap from 4th until you get, oh my goodness, they are 3 wide for a position. They will start to back out and fix itself a little bit, but they were 3 wide in one of the tightest parts of the track. I'm impressed on how they were able to pull that off. All right, so now Izzy trying to keep Klimsy behind, will keep Raptor behind as Klimsy is trying to scoot away just a bit here. That is Izzy dropping tires into the dirt. Here comes Raptor, comes right up behind. Can't do anything yet. Goes to tail. Acura versus Audi. A big move behind. That is Salty in the Lexus. Trying to barge his way past Exploit. Cannot make it stick, though. Ooh, but you can see that Exploit is really sideways, and Salty gets the air chopped off the nose, and it caused him to really get sideways there. Neck and neck. Audi and Acura. Izzy inside. Raptor outside. Raptor is way outside. Drops tires nearly into the dirt. This leaves him open to attack from Exploit. But Exploit doesn't really have room to make a crossover work there. So for a moment, they all hold station. All right. So at the front, Zula leads. Sakura is in second ahead of Nismo. And Nismo is trying to keep SFM Darkster behind. So none of our top three cars, none of our top four cars were cars that finished in the top three in the first stint. This could make things really interesting here when it comes to distance and overall results for the drivers and teams in the C stint. Nismo went an extreme outside line, briefly lost position to Darkster, but had acceleration advantage and got back by the Aston. Two British manufacturers, follows behind another British manufacturer, and as the German manufacturer, Audi, Azula 808, trying to stretch out the gap early on here. We're about 5 laps into this, and almost the entire field can stay on the front straightaway together. So the field is not spreading out as quickly as they were in stint 1. Uphill to the top, well, uphill to turn 3. It does look like Sakura is faster than Zula. It's a little sideways there, but Darkster is not really close enough to do anything. But look at this. Sakura is absolutely closing on Zula. Sakura was very punchy, very fight heavy in stint 1. Could not finish the race, although they were legitimately, I think, in position to maybe come home 4th, if not 5th. But dropped out due to some issues in the final about 10 to 15 minutes. Sakura, though, right now looking like one of the faster drivers in the field at the moment. It wouldn't be enough to really make up for losing all those laps, probably about 6 or 7 laps, but it would help a little bit. It would definitely make them feel a lot better being able to win at least one stint here. But it's a long stint, and the problem for Sakura may not be pace. It may just be being able to keep the car in the race and not having something outside of their control to kick them out again. First and second is pulled away from third and fourth. Third and fourth have pulled well away from fifth, and then everyone else pretty much has larger gaps farther back through the field. Midfield is not nearly as tightly constricted as they were in stint 1, but to counter that, the leaders are not pulling away as much as they had in stint 1 either. Sakura runs right behind, looks to the inside. Here comes the dive, goes hard on Zula. Zula tried to cut down, but Sakura already had more than a nose ahead, and that was a simple, easy overtake. So if Sakura can make it all the way around to the start-finish line, we will have 3 different leaders here in the first few laps. Sakura all the way to the inside, Zula on the outside. I wonder if Sakura said, okay, look, I realize that was not a clean pass. I'm not happy with that pass. Here, you can have it back. I'm going to try and get by you again. Fight for third and fourth back there, you can see, is just as intense right now. Darkster trying to make something happen on Nismo. Fifth place LMP Klimsy is kind of by himself at the moment. Audi sideways on the run uphill. Sakura has a great run in the McLaren. Looks to the inside, side by side, to the top of the hill, but Zula cuts down, blocks the line. Meanwhile, Darkster has made the overtake on the outside at the top of the hill. Granted, he had done about 3/4 of the overtake on the acceleration up. But Nismo is not done yet. Nismo sends it hard on the inside in this blind left-hander downhill. Darkster has the inside, though, and I think, unless there's a crossover, yes, Darkster has it. So Darkster now moves into the 3rd position. Sakura runs right behind the Audi for the lead. Zula will lead this lap, but Sakura seems to be faster, and Darkster behind both of them, maybe faster than both of them. Accelerating down the hill now. see Nismo and Darkster having a bit of a scrap farther back, but it does seem like Nismo is going to try and get the inside in turn 1, but that'll give Darkster the outside in turn 2. And that means Darkster will be ahead in turn 3. Sakura has actually lost some time now to the Audi in front. But we have 4 cars, might even be 5 if Klimzy puts some good laps together, but we have 4 cars at the front of the field, all relatively close to each other. Plenty of action early on here. The only reason I'm not shouting is just because I'm trying to save my voice. It already feels rough after a very, very intense Stint 1. Now I have to do Stint 2 here, along with Stint 3, Stint 4. Then I'll get a short break, and then Stint 6 at the end of the day as well. Right at the bottom of the hill, and now racing back up once again. Sakura trying to close in on Zula 808. He got by earlier, but it was a little bit argy-bargy, and Sakura on the back straight said, hey, look, I don't think that was a clean overtake. I'm not going to take that. He went offline, slowed down, let the Audi get back by. So now Sakura needs to try and figure out again how he's going to get by the Audi. Maybe Sakura's a she. I'm defaulting to he. I'm not trying to be problematic. It's just I don't know most of these people very well to know identities that well. So I just kind of default to he or they. He usually just rolls off the tongue easier. I'm not trying to be problematic here. Not trying to cause problems. All right, out of the final corner, Zula cutting down on Sakura. Looks like not quite side by side. Oh my goodness, look at the Bentley there of Nismo. Shoots to the inside to not hit Darkster from behind, but Darkster still has that position. Our top 2 really aren't having a great job trying to get away from Darkster because Darkster keeps trying to fight with Nismo. I do think Darkster is faster than the 2 ahead, but not by a whole lot, and the draft is letting Nismo keep that fight alive. Absolutely. Zula drops tires in the dirt, trying to come back up. No, that was Zula. Zula has lost the lead in turn 3. We missed that. I apologize, but Zula has lost the lead in turn 3. So Sakura now goes to the front. So what, the first 15 minutes? I think this would mean that we would have 3 different leaders. Well, not quite the first 15 minutes. It'd be more closer to the first 20 minutes. Even then, it's not quite 20. It's on be a little bit closer to 21. But in terms of racing time, yeah, the first 15 minutes, I think we're going to have 3 different leaders, 3 different manufacturers at the head of the field. Initially, Bookie started on the pole, but wrecked out on lap 2. Lost a bunch of time. Dropped way out of the top 5. Then it went to Zula 808 in the Audi. But now, as long as Sakura doesn't make any mistakes, we'll have our 3rd different manufacturer and our 3rd different leader early on in this stint. So this second stint proving to be a lot more competitive. Nismo has lost touch with Darkster, as Darkster is now putting the pressure on Zula 808. Oh, and Sakura blew turn the final corner there. He will still lead the lap, but all of a sudden, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are all right on top of each other once again. Sakura does streak away a little bit from the Audi, and Darkster is putting more pressure on Zula than Zula can put on Sakura. But Sakura is showing weakness. Darkster lunges to the inside, completes the overtake on Zula. Zula tries the overtake, but got the left tires high on the inside curbs, cannot make it stick. So Darkster now moves up into 2nd. Zula, oh, Nismo drops tires into the dirt there. Nismo can't really do anything to this fight for 2nd here. Could we see our 4 different leaders, 4 different manufacturers in the lead in the first 20 minutes of this race? And mind you, from 5th place, LMP Klimzy, he is caught right up to the rear of this fight, so Klimzy could still be in position to make something happen here. The only driver in the top 5, I think, is not in a position to really do anything to fight for a lead will be Nismo. Nismo does not seem to be as strong as the drivers around him. He has some strengths, but does not seem to be strong enough to really lead laps here on merit. Right, Sakura in the lead, Darkster in 2nd. Darkster seems to be fast enough to make overtakes where he wants, but he's a lot slower, a lot more careful with it. He's not really lunging for any crazy moves, doing closer to a TORA A lobby type approach. Oh, but he saw a move there. He is going for moves where he thinks they open, but he is not going to press the issue. trying to do something similar to what we see TORA A lobby drivers do. They're very reserved, very conservative. They'll make a move if it opens, but they will not press it if it gets close and if the door closes. A lot of low-risk moves for Darkster. Thing is, doing that behind Sakura leaves him open to attack from Zula. Zula got to his inside briefly in turn 1. Now Darkster will be able to accelerate out of turn 1, go through turn 2 and 3 without too much issue. But Darkster is showing some weakness. Oh, and Zula, way off into the dirt, has lost a bunch of time, will fall to 4th, will fall to 5th behind Kylami as well. This is great news for Darkster, though, because now Darkster doesn't have anyone directly on his rear end. He can do a lot more focus forward. Kylami now goes into the 4th position. So we saw Bentley and 8th Wire Bookie, who was leading earlier, drop into a whole lot of positions after sliding through the dirt and damage the car as well. Then we saw this. We have just seen the same for the Audi of Zula 808, who was leading some laps earlier, but now he has dropped all the way to 6th position a few laps after losing the lead. This could spell bad news for Sakura. It's a worrying trend. Sakura, can he hold the lead? And then if he loses the lead, can he just keep the car on the track and keep the car running to the end of the stint? Nismo has not really lost our top 2 yet. He's not close enough to capitalize unless one of these drivers have a big mistake, but he is close enough to keep them honest. They can't be shucking their cars around all willy-nilly. Nismo will be right there. And if they make a big mistake like what we've seen Bookie or Zula do, Nismo would take another position. Nismo also is going to have to worry about Kylami very shortly here. Darkster runs right behind Sakura, nose to tail, but is not making any high-risk moves. He's trying to let the race come to him. That is the Aston Martin, mind you. All the Aston Martins got nerfed very heavily. Mind you, 7 of our top 8 qualifiers in the A lobby were initially Astons. A bunch of them pulled out after controversy with the change to the Aston's VOP 32 hours roughly before this race started. But Darkster in the C lobby is trying to say, hey, look, no, the Aston was nerfed. I was in the Aston. I took a bad hit, but I can still recover and make something of it, even if it's in a lower lobby. Running right behind Sakura at the moment. Dives to the inside. Sakura tries to shut the door, but it's too late. Darkster is there. Sakura will get the acceleration out of the top of the hill, though. And just as well, you can see the fight there between Nismo and Kylami for 3rd and 4th. So Nismo is spending more time defending than attacking, so 3rd and 4th are losing touch with 1st and 2nd again. Kylami could have the speed, maybe, to make something happen in the top 2, but Kylami would need to get by Nismo fast to make that happen. Darks are really aggressive in the dirt in the 2nd corner and out of the 2nd corner, but he still kept it straight, nose forward. Top 4 also on top of each other. On the straightaway once more. Also, shout out to Salty in the Lexus. He has brought that thing up to a 5th place position right now. Darkster runs right behind Sakura. Trying to see if there can be a weak spot that he can make use of. Runs right behind Sakura still. She got really close in the mid corner but couldn't make it stick. I'm just as interested in this fight in 3rd and 4th. It's kind of hard because I want to look at both fights, but it's really, really difficult here. Here comes Kylami. I'm going to ride on board with Kylami for the next few laps here. Give us a chance to look at both the fight for 1st and the fight for 3rd. As we run downhill here into this flying high-speed left-hander, one of, if not the fastest corner on the track. Ooh, a little bit of bumper-to-bumper contact. Kylami lunges to the inside of Nismo, but Nismo has the acceleration out of the corner. Both cars jumped really aggressively over the curb. It seems like Kylami was a little worse off for it, though. No moves yet for first or third. Not from the lack of trying in this fight for third, though, but it seems like Kylami is not in a position to really have the strength in attacking. He's got a faster lap time, but I do not think Kylami has the outright speed. Oh boy, here comes a run. Is this it? No. Nismo seems to be a little bit faster. Oh, inside line is open, but Kylami does not seem to have the confidence to lunge for it, but Nismo slides a little wide. It leaves the door open for Kylami. Kylami just ran the normal line, ends up on the side. Two British cars side by side. And Kylami is by. It's not finished though. Nismo has the inside in this corner. And Nismo gets it back. Kylami got alongside for a moment, but Nismo held it in there. And our top two are really streaking away from this very intense fight for third at the moment. And mind you, RZM Salty is closing in all the while. At the front, it is still FTC Sakura and SFM Darkser at the moment. Again, if you're going for overall distance and final results, Sakura is screwed after losing a bunch of time from not finishing, dropping out in the closing about 12 minutes of Stint 1. So Darkser right now is in a great advantage, team versus team against Sakura, but Darkser is not only fighting the drivers in this lobby, he's going to be, if you're going for overall distance, fighting against drivers in E lobby, D lobby, B lobby, and A lobby as well. It would be in Darkser's interest to get by Sakura as quickly as possible, but it just does not seem like he is willing to make those high-risk moves. He wants to stick, just hang out behind the McLaren and hope that this comes to him. Our first pit stops of the day is RZX Nix. Nismo versus Kylami continues. And that is RZM Salty, who you can see at the back, they're starting to close in a little bit. Zool 808 has just completely lost the plot. I have to wonder, is he taking damage or something? Oh, what happened here? Has something happened? We have gone black screen. This normally means that someone is either pitting or someone may have dropped out. No! And it's Sakura, our race leader! And this gives Darkser the lead by default, and Sakura has dropped out for 2 stints in a row, even while leading in stint 2. Bad luck has befallen all of our first 3 leaders, and the first 30 minutes of this first race, of this second stint here, we have had 4 different leaders, and FTC Sakura, it goes from bad to worse. So Darkser now leads. The fight between Kylami and Nismo is now a fight for second. And Kylami got by Nismo while we were freaking out over, it's more like me, was freaking out about Sakura, but Nismo powers back by Kylami on the inside. Kylami on the outside, neck and neck, Nismo versus Kylami. Kylami has the nose ahead, but Nismo can go a little harder into the braking zone here. A little bit of a downhill technical section, and then they accelerate uphill. Kylami all sorts of sideways. And while these two fight, it will mean that Darkser can start opening the gap, because Darkser no longer has to worry about cars ahead. But Darkser is not stretching his legs out as much as we saw the HYR BMW do in the first stint. But Darkster, mind you, he is going to be going back-to-back for multiple stints. This could be a great start for him. RZM Salty's made his first stop as well, has already gone into the pits. So in the first pit stop stint, we have seen 4 different leaders. One of them, though, Sakura, is not even going to make it to the end. So Klimzy is going to pit before Nismo here. So that will be interesting to see. Zula, 808, this is what I wanted to look at earlier. Is there any damage to this car after going off? No. No, yes, there is a significant amount of engine damage to Zula's machine. So 2 different drivers who led laps early have taken engine damage and has absolutely tanked their race. They will get their cars back up to speed. I imagine when they pit, they'll get some repairs done, but still they are going to lose a lot of time trying to be out here fighting for this. So Darkster is your leader at the moment. Nismo second, Zula, even with the engine damage, is third, but I think that comes down more to drivers who haven't pitted yet. A lot of drivers making their stops are a little bit more spread out. It's not as extreme of a spread, but a little bit more spread out. We're not seeing like a quarter of the field paying at once like we did last time. It's like every lap that goes by, we're seeing about 1 or 2 more drivers make their stops. So a lot more flexibility, but nothing absolutely crazy right now in stint 1 here at Kylami. Field seems to be relatively spread out at the moment, but Zula and Exploit are on top of each other. Exploit is in that other LMP car. One LMP car, Klimzy, has already made their stop yet, but Exploit has not done it yet. Nismo now pitting out of second position. Darkster is still out on circuit, so Darkster trying to go far on his tires. He's going to fur away on his tires. All right, and look at this, 2nd through 6th, all making their stops at the exact same time. So that could be, this will be interesting to watch. And something else that will be interesting to watch, where is Klimzy going to end up in relation to all these drivers who have just stopped at the same time? Salty looks to the inside, Klimzy can't make it signal, but Klimzy botches the final quarter, and Salty gets by. And there you can see drivers already coming out. Nismo has just come out of pit lane. Raptor, who is not yet pitted, is going to be ahead of him, but where is Klimzy going to be in relation to Salty and Nismo? Klimzy is still behind Salty. Klimzy dives to the inside. He's gone off circuit. Has something gone wrong? Klimzy was ghost mode for a long period of time, lost a bunch of time. Salty is clear of him, and so is Nismo. Nismo, who made a stop about 2 laps earlier, then everyone around him is now up in the 3rd position, will likely turn to 2nd once Raptor makes his stop. Darkster has really opened up the gap, but that's partially because everyone behind has already made their stop. Only 2 drivers have not made their first stop yet, and one of them is this person here, Raptor, who is running in an Audi, trying to just go far on these tires early on. Hopefully he doesn't make the same mistake that we saw the Bentley make in the first stint and go too far on the tires and just spend the rest of the time playing catch-up. But right now, he could be setting himself up for a good result here if he min-maxes these tires wear as well. Mind you, this car, this Audi, does have engine damage, 1.4% engine damage, but fuel is starting to run out. Is Raptor going to pit this lap, or is he going to try and squeeze out another lap? Oh, and Salty's gone off behind! Salty has gone off behind. I will let Klimzy get by, and Darkster is pitting. Our race leader is now pitting. Salty, does he have any damage? No damage to the car, but Salty loses time to Klimzy now. And Raptor pits as well. Now we expect Nismo is not going to inherit the lead. Darkster is already out of the pits. Yep. The Darkster has completely cleared the field right now. The only person who's really keeping Darkster honest was Sakura. But with Sakura having DNF, Darkster is now opening the gap on the rest of the field. Not as much as we saw the HYR driver do in our first stint, but Darkster is walking away with this. Now, mind you, Darkster is trying to go at least 3 stints in a row, might be 4 stints. So if Darkster wins this stint, we will not be interviewing him post-stint just because of that. He also will more likely be hosting stint 2 as well. So Nismo in second, Kylami in third, and Salty in fourth. So Nismo got into this position by virtue of an undercut, pitting early. And then look at this, the moment you drop out of the top four, things get chaotic. This is LMP exploit. He's got Zula 808, and now Zula has a car that's got a repaired engine, so he can start fighting forward now. Looking out the back of LMP Exploit's machine, you can see Zula behind along with Neville, 8433, AR Izzy, and C1 Clashing 54 are for the back. Credit where credit's due. Clashing 54 is looking a lot more aggressive and punchy than he did in the last stint. Stint 1, Clashing 54 was the slowest of all drivers who didn't make mistakes. This time though, Clashing 54 is legitimately a top 10 driver. Oh, and that's Zula off circuit again. Nebel in the Cadillac, a machine that we know can make some big moves. We saw it happen by LMP TBR in Stint 1. The only reason they didn't get a great result was because, oh, look at this counter dive by the Audi. He dove, tried to get the position, but mistimed it, and ended up losing the position again. It was a bold strategy by Zula. Trying it again, and this time he makes it stick a little better. They will be side by side down this straightaway, but it does look like Neville has a car that is better set up for these straight line runs. Oh, the Audi lunges to the outside. Neck and neck still. The Zula lunge again. Not quite. They make contact. The Cadillac is all sorts of sideways. Downhill, technical section, now uphill. Neville in this Cadillac seems to have great straight line speed, but does not seem to be as comfortable in the corners. You can really see how much this Cadillac opens the gap. Meanwhile, the fight for second, third, and fourth is on. Nismo, Kylami, Salty, all three of these drivers have made a few mistakes. All three of them do seem to be some of our fastest drivers if everyone's still running at this stage of the event. Nismo and Kylami have opened up the gap just a little bit compared to Salty. Here comes Kylami with a big run off of Nismo. Closes in under braking. Seems like this fight for second, third, and fourth is kind of in a position where no one can really make moves, but everyone's close enough to capitalize on mistakes. So a race that, honestly, a little bit more punchy near the front of the field, but a lot less punchy farther down, honestly. I'm not saying there aren't any moves going on farther down the grid, but I look at LMP Exploit, I look at Meeble, I look at Zula. These drivers are fighting, but it's a lot more spread out and paced out here further back in the field. It seems like comparing Stint 1 to Stint 2, Stint 1 had a lot of action hyper-concentrated from about 3rd and 4th on back to about 13th. In this stint, the action seems to be a lot more spread out evenly across the entire field, and Kylami and Nismo are in their fight now. Nismo went for the move on Kylami went for the move on Nismo. They got side by side there in the corner. Nismo pulled out ahead of Kylami, but these two are still on it, and Salty is closing back in. But I don't know if Salty is going to be fast enough to really do anything. The other thing to consider, though, I think it doesn't matter what happened, unless Darkser has a disconnect, I think neither of these three drivers are fast enough to do anything to Darkser here. I think these are legitimately for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. These are probably your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fastest drivers. Maybe not in that exact order, but I do think these drivers are fighting where their legit pace is. So Kylami with a gigantic dive, but Nismo will get the crossover. They'll be side by side on the way up. Kylami says, nope, I don't want to go side by side in this corner. But Nismo does not have a great run through that high-speed kink. Neck and neck in the final corner. Kylami tries the crossover, puts the bumper twice to Nismo, and Salty is now right there. Nismo gets off the ideal line, trying to break the draft between himself and Kylami. Salty still gets the draft from Kylami. All right, diving into turn 1. Kylami thought of it. Kylami was trying to get Nismo to make a big block move, but he did not fall for it, so they'll stay nose to tail for the moment. Oh, Nismo on the curb, and spits the car sideways. Side by side now. Horrible run out of turn 3. Nismo versus Kylami. Drag race now into the high-speed corner of turn 4. Kylami trapped on the outside. Nismo on the inside. But it seems like the Audi has some good downforce and will actually make it stick. So, not Audi, BMW, sorry. But the BMW now gets a little bit of a touch from Nismo. The BMW has great downforce, but does not seem to have as good mechanical grip, but Kylami has made it stick. Kylami now moves into 2nd. Nismo chops down on Salty, trying to keep the Lexus behind him and hold on to 3rd. Salty gets a run coming up the hill here. No turn enemies join the group. That's unexpected. Salty now dives to the inside of Nismo on the run up to the top of the hill. Nismo trapped on the outside. Salty inside. Salty spins the tires up, gets a little sideways, falls back in line behind Nismo. But Kylami has now finally cleared Nismo, and Kylami now in 2nd position. Don't think Kylami is going to be fast enough to run Darkser down, but he now finally has some clean air. He needs to minimize mistakes and start opening the gap between himself and Nismo. Salty a little sideways there, trying to put the pressure on Nismo. Right out of the final corner and down the front straight. LMP Kylami sees that Nismo is still just within drafting range, but if Kylami can put together a decent lap here, I think he'll lose Nismo for good. Nismo is in the position. We'll have to fight against Salty. Salty got sideways. The rear tires got squirrely under braking, but he turned that sideways moment into a lunge. Now couldn't get alongside Kylami really, but he did end up putting the bumper to Nismo. So Salty is absolutely there, and I think Salty might be a little faster than Nismo at this stage of the event. NWR Enzo back there in 15th is going to be the first driver to make the 2nd stop of the day. This 2nd stint seems to be going a little faster than stint 1 right now. At the bottom of the hill, now accelerating up. Drops tires in the dirt again. Salty's still running right behind. Can't. Yeah, he's close enough to make Nismo have to fight for it, but he's not close enough to make moves. Kylami is now starting to open the gap just a bit. Salty right behind Nismo. Lexus makes a move, dives to the inside of the Bentley, will get the position. Can Nismo do the crossover work? Yes, he does. It was a great dive by Salty, but he just took too much speed, and while he briefly had the position, he basically missed the apex, and I let Nismo, who was running the slower, more ideal racing line, get right back by. So Nismo was on the third ahead of Salty. Down the back straightaway, and now into this high-speed, semi-blind turn 4. It does look like Nismo has a car that is significantly weaker in the more downforce focused parts of the circuit. Bookie is making his second stop, so the man who started on pole and led the first lap, absolutely struggling, it seems, making honestly, his first stop, his second stop. There's no way we're already in a position where he's making his second stop on strategy. Surely there's damage. There's still 40 minutes left, so maybe Bookie is going to try and go to the end of the race on this final set of tires. So it'd be tough, but it might work. I think it's more likely damage, though, because Bookie has ended up behind Enzo after. So while Klimsy seems to have settled into second position for now, Nismo and Salty are fighting on merit with each other. Third and fourth position for the final podium spot. I do believe Salty is faster, but Nismo seems to be really good at running defense. Bad run by both Nismo and Salty coming out of the kink that time. Through the final corner, Salty puts the bumper to the Bentley once again. Lexus is going to stay in the draft, but it does look like the Bentley had a better run on proper acceleration. So Salty not really in position to make another big slide job dive and ended up taking the position, even for a brief moment. It looks like Nismo will hold on to third through turn 1. This second stint seems to be absolutely flying by. Ooh, Salty looked to the inside there, couldn't make it stick though. This is honestly probably the most intense battle on track. I do see other fights on the circuit, but oh, Nismo, what are you doing? Somehow he keeps it straight. I thought for sure with that bad run the kink, Nismo was going to shoot right into the dirt. Somehow he kept it on track. Klimsy is not scooting away as fast as I thought he would. If Salty gets by Nismo in the next 3 or 4 laps, I could see Salty maybe running down Klimsy and make a bid for second. I don't know if Salty's actually faster than Klimsy or not. Oh, Salty muscles his way to the inside of Nismo and gets his car sideways. Both cars are sideways, but Salty was way worse off there. Again, Salty is definitely faster than Nismo, but Nismo is way, way better at running defense right now. And mind you, all 3 of these cars, Klimsy, Nismo, Salty, they all pitted on the same lap, so they're all going to be burning through tires at roughly the same pace. Darkster is the one who went farthest on Stint 1. Well, him and Raptor, they're the ones who went farthest in Stint 1. They're the ones with a slight tire advantage to the end of Stint 2 here. And like I said before, everyone is required to make at least 2 stops in each of these stints. Oh, Salty into the dirt. I think Salty might just kind of be bashing his head against the wall at this stage of the event. So now we're going to look back a little bit. Nebel trying to keep Zula, Clash, and 54, and I think that's it. I think it's just these three right now, honestly. Yeah, Izzy is a long way back. But I want to give shout out to Clash and 54. Did not have a good run at all in Stint 1. Came home 15th, but right now he is fighting in the upper third of the well, upper half of the field, trying to get into the upper third. That's not what I wanted to see. Only 31% wear on Clashin's tire wear. Looking at Nebel's 36%, so slightly worse. And then Zula, who's running just behind this group. Mind you, Zula a little laps early, but took engine damage. More engine damage again for Zula. That's not looking good, but he's at 31% tire life. Nebel absolutely blitzes in the straights, but really seems to be struggling in the corners. I think that's shown a little bit in terms of tire damage as well. All right, run downhill. We'll see that Cadillac really open the gap to the cars behind, but then as they throw it into this high-speed blind left-hander, Nebel loses a lot of time, and that Audi of Clash in 54 closes in. Nebel over the rumble strips aggressively. As long as Nebel is able to straight line some of these corners, he'll be fine. And it does help him a bit that that Clash in 54 is trying to keep Zula behind just as much as he's trying to fight forward. Also, credit where credit is due, Nebel might be able to run down LMP exploit before the end of this stint, depending on how their tire wear goes. You can see exploit farther up the track from Nebel. Oh, but if Nebel keeps sliding the final corner like that, he's not going to be able to do it. All that time that the Cadillac gains in a straight line is lost when he throws his car sideways in a corner like that. And here's Clash in 54 right behind Nebel. Zola is a little bit back, so if Clash in 54 wants to make some moves, this is a good chance. We've seen the Audi is really strong on the outside, going through this high-speed right-hander, but he's not going to make a move here. Another big sideways moment by the Cadillac. But on this straight, it's not really in a position for Nebel to make a move. If you're already side by side, you could definitely push a move, but it does not look like it was enough for Nebel to be exposed to a move by the Audi. All right, Audi is right behind. The Cadillac puts the bumper to him. Not very aggressively, though. So Cadillac holds on to the position without issue. Farther up, third and fourth, the fight continues. Salty has caught Nismo once more. Oh, and again, Salty goes off. Boy, did Salty go off. Is there damage to the car? He got really close to the wall. No damage by the looks of it. But that was a lot closer, I think, than what he wanted to deal with. There's your fight for 5th, 6th, and 7th in turn 1. Audi a little bit sideways there. There's Izzy a little bit farther back, not really close enough to fight forward or fight back. Like I said, we kind of had like a really hyper-concentrated fight from about 3rd or 4th all the way to about 12th or so, most of Stint 1. But then everything outside of 12th and everything like in the top 3 pretty much solved itself early on. This race has been a lot more spread out where it comes to where the focus has been. Boy, Enzo is not having a great time through there. And there's Bookie, who had led the race early on in the event. Has not had a good time at all today, though. And here comes your race leader. That is SFM Darkser. Took the lead after Sakura lagged out and has not looked back one bit. And then we'll see the fight for 2nd coming up here. it's not really even a fight. I think Klimsy has cleared third long enough, and it's not a problem. Nismo, who stays ahead of Salty. Salty is faster than Nismo, keeps making big mistakes that throws him way off the circuit. Now here's the fit for 5th, 6th, and 7th. And there's 8th and Izzy. As that fight for 5th comes out of the final corner and runs down the front straight once again, it does look like Zula, with all that engine damage, is just losing touch. It's becoming a two-car fight between Nebel and Clashing 54. And I do think Nebel has the advantage for the moment, but tire life, especially in those rears for that Cadillac, is going to be a big concern for all of them. We're at about 30 minutes left in the stint, about 31 minutes left. If you want to make your second pit stop, this would be a good time to do it. Split the event evenly in stints. Of course, big thing is Darkser, who leads. He, along with Raptor, who is back there in 11th, they went farther on the first stint than anyone else on tires. Oh, Nebel almost lost it there. Big excited moment. Salty is pitting out 4th, so Salty's going to try the undercut to get by Nismo. He realized, I can't get by Nismo on track, I'm going to try the undercut to get by him. So keep an eye on that. Going forward, Salty will be the first of our top 5 to pit here. Top 6, really, but... most of our fights have now pretty much calmed down at this stage of the race. There is this little fight here between Exploit, who's already made his second stop, and Raptor, who has not yet made his second stop. So we know that when Raptor makes his stop, he's gonna hemorrhage a bunch of positions. This fight won't really matter for anything. So yeah, there's really just not any other active fight on track outside of this fight for what's 4th at the moment, but overall be 5th between Nebel and Clashing 54. Zula is far enough back to watch this, but not really in a position to capitalize. That engine damage is really harming Zula's run. Zula, one of 4 drivers who led laps in the first stint of the event, but like 8th Wire Bookie before him, had an accident shortly after losing the lead, damaged the car. It wasn't really a big accident, but slowed off track, and I'm guessing damaged the engine while doing that. Oh, Nebel is sideways, and here comes Clashing 54 side by side at the top of the hill. Now, the Cadillac should have a straight line speed advantage and will slot back ahead of the Audi. The final corner, well, not final corner, of that hard corner through the kink. That Cadillac had a way worse run than the Audi. Final corner this time. Cadillac had a better run out. That's 18th place. He was about to go a lap down here. Well, he's already a lap down to the leaders, but he's going to go a lap down to 4th and 5th as well. Salty, who made his stop very early compared to the other drivers, trying to go and run a bunch of laps in clean air. And it does look like he's in clean air as long as D. Chris Slow behind him isn't really holding him up. Salty is going to set a bunch of laps in clean air, try to use that to get ahead of Nismo at the end, and Nebula's gone off. In turn 3, Nebula's gone off, and Zula is going to get by him as well. So Nebula goes from 4th to 6th, and Zula gets the position back. Again, though, Zula has engine damage, and we know that Nebel's Cadillac has some incredible straight line speed, so Nebel might be able to nip back by the Audi shortly here. This is great news for Clashing 54. This would put him in 5th overall. So it's an Audi, Cadillac in this fight for 4th, 5th, and 6th at the moment. Again, no one in our top six really have pitted. Top 7 overall. It had been Salty, but Salty is currently 8th right now, just clicking off laps in clean air. Same strategy we saw Cadillac try in the last stint, but not as extreme. Now Clash in 4th is going to finally make his stop. This will put Zula up into the 4th overall, and Neville is going to follow him in. So Zula with that damaged engine is not going to look good for him. He probably should have pitted with them. But this could work out well for Clash in 54 because Neville is not going out an extra lap compared to him. They're basically covering each other off, so it will be track position and ability. And with Clash ahead of Neville, I think this could work in the Audi's favor. So Zula moves back up into the 4th position now. We know Salty gets by them both. It's no surprise there. At the top of the hill now. Well, not the top of the hill, sorry, but onto the mini back straightaway here. 3rd place Nismo is the one coming up to the top of the hill, honestly. Darkster is at the top of the hill. Kylami has pretty much walked away from everyone and is just turning laps on his own. So is Nismo. Oh, and that's X-Raptor, and another dropout. X-Raptor 369 has dropped out of the event. That'll be our 2nd DNF of the day, and mind you, Raptor was on the same pit strategy as Darkster. Darkster has just made his pit stop. His 2nd pit stop of the day is coming earlier than his 1st one, and Kylami is going to cover him. We're going to try and reach out to Raptor here if we can. Everyone in the top 4 pitting at the exact same time here. AR Izzy still on track in the Acura. So Darkster easily will hold the lead, but the fight is between Kylami, Nismo, Zula, and then where is Salty going to be in relation? Again, Salty has been trying to get by Nismo for a long part of today's race. Has Salty turned enough good laps in clean air? I have bad news for you, Salty. It does not look like it. Nismo is still ahead of you. All those laps in clean air have not worked out in the Lexus's favor. It seems like the undercut works very well in Stint 1, but in Stint 2, it seems like it goes the other way. Stint 2 seems to be undercutting. It seems to be overcutting that works. It seems like you want to make Stint 2 your shortest stint of them all. Alright, so AR Izzy, who is in 3rd, has yet to make his final stop. Or her final stop, I don't really know which one it is. But Salty still behind Nismo, and now Salty will be on worse tires to the end of this event. I think everyone in the top 4, maybe even top 5, have pretty much solidified their positions. Clash in 54 still ahead of Zula 808 for the moment, and they are both well ahead of Neville. So Neville just cannot seem to keep the car under him and stable enough to really make anything work. NFL Racer making his 3rd stop of the race, so that BMW entry from IFEA is absolutely not performed at all today. Looking back at this fight for what is currently 8th will likely turn into a fight for 6th once Izzy and D. Chris Slow make their final stops. A lot of the excitement in this stint was really concentrated in the first third of the race, but it was spread a little bit more evenly across the field. In Stint 1, there was a lot of excitement spread across the entire race, but it was really only from about 3rd or 4th back to about 10th or 12th position. So 2 different kinds of exciting events here. Clash in 54 holding station over Zula. Zula stays right behind. This is a pair of Audis going for the position. That is Izzy, who is in the pit lane right now. Both these drivers will overtake him without issue, so this becomes a fight for 7th. And again, once D. Chris Slow makes his stop, this will be a fight for 6th overall. Zula led laps early, but some engine damage has really tanked their run. Zula dives to the inside of Clash in 54. Both of them sliding in turn 1, neck and neck. Clash will have the inside in turn 2. In turn 3, though, Zula will have the inside again, neck and neck. A little bit of contact on exit. Clash in 54 drops tires into the dirt, slides all the way into the dirt there, and Zula opens up the gap now. there any damage to the engine? No damage to the engine, but guess who's by? It is Neville. And these two cannot seem to get away from each other. So now Clashing 54 will once again have to get by Neville here. Cadillac versus Audi. This fight just will not die today. Andre is the only driver a lap down at this stage of the event, so that's interesting. Speaking of which, he has gone off there in the final stint. Not really sure what's happened there. For old time's sake, let's look at the fight for third and fourth here once again. Out of the final corner they come. As D. Chris Slow finally will make the stop. This will put LMP Exploit up into the 5th position. Nismo has the position. Salty is hanging out behind. Salty made a gamble to pit early, do the undercut in the second stint. Does not seem to have worked. He is still stuck behind Nismo, and now he has worse tires. And while I do think Salty is a faster lap time in stint 2, does not seem to be the case here in the final stint. I think our top 4 positions have solidified unless Nismo ends up with an incident here. Zula's in 6th right now, well ahead of 7th and 8th. So Zula might be, of all the drivers who led laps and then had an incident happen, I think Zula will be the one to recover the best. But none of the drivers who led laps in the first stint, except for Darkser, look like they'll be able to finish even top 5. Remember, H-Wire Bookie started on pole. His teammate won first stint in dominant fashion. But here, Bookie had an accident on lap 2, lost the lead, and has just not really been the top 10 for most of the race since. Then it went to Zula 808. Zula led several laps, but shortly after he lost the lead, he went off, out of turn 3, damaged the engine in the process. It looks like Zula will be able to recover to a 6th place finish by the looks of it. Then it went to FTC Sakura. Sakura was not able to finish stint 1, made it to about 12 minutes before the end of stint 1 before dropping out. Sakura was leading, keeping Darkster behind, and just as the field were starting to do their first round of stops, Sakura dropped out of the event. So then the lead went to Darkster, and Darkster has held it and not really looked back. He's not stretched out like what we saw the HYR drivers do in stint 1, but Darkster is comfortably in the lead enough that I'm not worried at all in saying that Darkster is going to win this. And again, we will not interview Darkster at the end of this stint because Darkster does have commitments to run stint 3 and stint 4, so we're not going to bother him in that scenario. And please tell me someone else didn't just drop out. And that is NFL Racer. And that's the IFEA entry. They were struggling as it was, having made 3 stops when everyone else had only made 2, and now they have dropped out. So not a great run by the IFEA BMW entry here. I'm going to take one more look at this fight for third and fourth. Nismo has the position. I believe he has the upper hand, but Salty has closed back into the Bentley once again. It is Lexus versus Bentley. This fight has been brewing for a large chunk of the race, but Nismo absolutely, I would say, has been the top driver in this fight. Salty has put down better lap times, but every time Salty goes to make a move, he can't make it stick. He'll lead for maybe a straight and a corner and then loses it back to Nismo. Both drivers have made their share of mistakes, but honestly, Salty may be faster in lap times, and when it comes to driver versus driver, Nismo has it. Sometimes that's all it comes down to. That's all it takes. And I have to give Nismo a big thumbs up for being able to do it. It's not over yet, though. We are closing down. I think we're in the last 17 minutes of this race. So Nismo still has to make sure he doesn't make any big mistakes between now and the end of this. most of the other fights have pretty much broken up, with the exception of this one here between Neville and Clash in 54. I keep looking at that fight for third, but it just has not really gotten close enough for Salty to make any more moves. Another black screen. Please tell me someone else hasn't dropped out. And it's in WR Enzo now. So this stint, it seems like drivers are dropping like flies. Neville continues to keep Clash in 54 behind. Cadillac a little bit wide at the top of the hill, but the straight line speed advantage in that Cadillac will keep him ahead of the Audi. Oh, and coming into the party now is NFL Racer. NFL Racer, one second. Let me double check and make sure that Twitch isn't going to cause me any problems here. Yeah. NFL Racer, if you can hear me, go ahead. Well, he's still connecting. As we watch this fight for 7th continue. NFL Racer, can you hear me? Hello. These two have now caught Born Age or Die, and Born slides off into the dirt, so he'll be out of these people's way. Neville still keeping Clash in 54 behind. I want to look one more time at this fight for 3rd and 4th. Nismo holds station over Salty. This is the closest Salty has been since they have made their final stop. I'm going to try NFL one more time, but if it doesn't work again, I'm not going to worry about it. Nismo runs in 3rd, Salty in 4th. Orange or Die now pitting for a 3rd time. Outside of Born Age or Die, was it Be Orange or Die? I don't know what their name is, I'm sorry. But outside of them, everyone is still on the lead lap right now. It's just that we've had a significant amount of lag outs here in this event. Only 3 drivers dropped out in Stint 1, 4 here in Stint 2. All right, NFL coming back into the party again. NFL, can you hear me? All right, go ahead, include your audio. Party should give you the option to include your audio. Not a really strong run, and it looks like it ends early. What do you have to say about what happened here in Stint 2?
I'm just extraordinarily frustrated, if I'm honest. Had a decent run. Kylami's never been my fastest, so I knew I wasn't going to have a fantastic showing, just so long as I could get the mileage in. But Forza, in its infinite wisdom, decided to double shift me from 3rd to 1st in turn 3 twice during my after my first pit stop. So at about 5% engine damage for that entire second fuel load, and then when I stopped on my second stop, didn't put any fuel in the car, even though I told it to. So I came around for a 3rd stop, and then about 15 minutes left, it disconnected me. My internet crap, so I just don't have anything to show for it. So very frustrated, but maybe in score fast, and I'm sure they'll make up for it. Hopefully I can make up for them when I'm back in the car in Stint 5.
Yeah, we saw that maybe didn't have a great run in that car in Stint 1 either. So it just seems like a really rough time for that BMW team. Shame to see. Who's running in Stint 3, do you know?
It will be Scored Buffalo.
All right, we'll be keeping an eye on that then. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. It's a shame to see you knocked out early like this.
Yeah, it hurts, but just light a fire under my butt for Stint 5 and go out there and do better then.
All right, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate. All right, so as we look at the grid, we are in our final 12 minutes right now. Looks like it's about 11 minutes and 15 seconds left at this point. Here's a fight that has developed for 9th place. AR, Izzy, and D. Chris Slow. These two drivers have gone farther on their tires than anyone else. And interestingly enough, they have now caught each other as well. So keep an eye on that. Slow will have slightly better tires than Izzy, but both of them will have a significant advantage over everyone else on track. There is also still the fight for 7th and 8th. As Clash and 54 and Nebel continue to fight for 7th and 8th. Also, LMP Exploit and Zula are actually in the middle of a fight. I missed this, but at some point, somehow, Zula has gotten by LMP Exploit. Is there damage on his car? Zula has gotten by Exploit somehow. No damage, so I wonder if Exploit may have just had a big off coming out of the second to last corner kink. But Zula is now up in the 5th, so Zula seems to be the one driver who's made a stop early that is on the recovery drive right now. Exploit is trying to fight back. Oh, he's not going to be able to get that position for 5th back if he's sliding into the dirt like that, though. The Bentley. No, it's not the Bentley. That's another Aston. Is it? I thought there was only one Aston. However, I might be talking on my rear. I might be wrong. And if people are saying things in the chat, I'm not looking at the chat. I try to keep these races very close to real life racing broadcasting. You're not really keeping an eye on what the internet is saying the entire time. So, but anyways, Zula runs ahead of Exploit at the moment. Exploit looked like he was on track for 5th, but has somehow given up the position to Zula. So Zula on a small recovery drive after damaging the engine twice is respectable, not great, but respectable at the least. The fight for 3rd continues to just kind of be a stalking battle, and as the time is running down, oh, both drivers drop tires in the dirt. Nismo a little worse than Salty, but I think Nismo has this in the bag. The thing is, Nismo keeps making these mistakes that keep Salty right in play, so this could go down to the last few moments if Nismo keeps making these mistakes. There's also this fight for 7th and 8th that has gone on for a significant period of time. Clash and 54 has gotten back by Nebel at this stage of the event. There is also the fight between AR, Izzy, and D. Chris Slow, but for now, Izzy has opened up the gap against Slow, and then pretty much every other fight is opened up by quite a bit. RZX Nix is at risk of maybe going a lap down if they have an instant here. All right, and coming to the party right now is FTC Sakura. Sakura, if you can hear me, go ahead, include your party audio. Good run in Stint run. Stint 1 got derailed. A great run in Stint 2 got derailed. What do you have to say about your runs today? I hear you. We know that your McLaren has significant speed. We saw you in the lead for a large chunk of Stint 2. You were fighting in the top 5 in Stint 1 as well. Do you think your teammates can help dig your team out of the hole a bit? All right. What? All right, one more question. Who is going to be in the car for Stint 3 so we can keep an eye on them? Do we know? Do we know if Sadie is using a wheel or is she using a controller? Oh my goodness! And 2 stints in a row. Oh my goodness! All right. I hope she's not overdosed on ibuprofen for this event then. Yep, fair enough. All right, one last thing I will say. I know you were like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. It's perfectly fine. It's very common for people to just not want to jump in and talk. If you didn't jump in or didn't say anything, I wouldn't be upset or anything. It's the way it is. I realize that some people aren't willing to or aren't able to, so it's not a problem. I appreciate you do coming in, though. I'm sorry that I ended up talking to you like this in the middle of a run and not at the end. All right. Yep, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. All right, we are looking in the final few minutes of Stint 2 here. 4.5 minutes left, and Nismo is making more and more mistakes, but Salty has burned up his tires. He is not able to fight. The best thing he can do is try and pressure Nismo. Nismo nearly completely wrecked the car through this corner last lap by, and then Salty followed him through. So every big mistake Nismo makes, Salty seems to mimic, but then the smaller mistakes that Nismo makes, Salty is clean enough to not make them. That is the big reason why they're on top of each other. But we only are going to have about 2 more laps left for this duo. I don't know if Salty can get by Nismo. He looks to the inside, dives in turn 1. The room was there, but the positioning and momentum was not. Now Salty's the one into the dirt. Oh my goodness, he's deep into the dirt. I think that might be it. He finally gets going again, but it's going to take him 2 laps just to close back in. There's no damage to the car, but he's at 44% tire wear. I look at Nismo real quick, and Nismo is at, what, 40%? 40% tire wear. Nismo, I think, is going to take home third as long as it doesn't make any big mistakes. Oh, Salty into the dirt again. I think that pretty much solidifies that fight for good. Zula has pulled away from Exploit at this stage of the race, and Collision 54 has pulled away from Neville 8433. Izzy has lost ground to Chris Slow, but I don't think Slow is close enough to do anything. And then every other position seems to have been decided. RZX Nix wants to try and stay on the lead lap. Remember, their teammate AX4X dropped out, was the first driver to drop out in Stint 1, so Nix just trying to bring home time. Oh my gosh, is Bookie that close? Yeah, Bookie is not that far ahead of Nix. We are running out of time, but Bookie is not having a good run of it at all. Again, led the first lap, had a big slide off and damaged the car off the wall on lap 2, and it's just been going bad to worse for Bookie all day long, even with all these drivers ahead of her, or ahead of them, going out of the race. Bookie has just continued to lose positions. And depending on how this goes, there's a possibility that Bookie might lose the position of Nix if Bookie has a big enough instant here. It has not been looking good. But Nix will be the second driver to go a lap down here in today's event. All right, once again, we look at the fight for third and fourth. Salty has lost ground, a lot of ground to Nismo. This fight has gone for a long time, but Salty is just kind of throwing everything at the wall and just kind of lost this battle mentally. Unless Nismo has a big mistake, a big off, I think this is over. And I think that's pretty much the case for every fight right now. Although Slow has actually gotten by Izzy. I missed this, but Slow has gotten by Izzy somehow. We're in the closing minute and a half. These two aren't even going to make it a full lap, but Slow has gotten back by Izzy. The fight for ninth. And I watched the clock. It says 1 minute and 15 seconds left for my clock. Chris Slow staying ahead of Izzy. The Audi really wide, but keeps it off the grass. Coming out of that fast blind right-hander, or semi-blind right-hander. I think Slow is going to catch Izzy here. Izzy drops tires in the dirt. Yeah, unless Slow makes a big mistake, I think it's over. Salty has just made another big mistake and has completely lost touch with Nismo. So I think every position except for this one has basically been decided. Less than 45 seconds left. Bookie is just about to maybe get passed by Nix. Is there damage to Bookie's car? No, but their rear tires are cooked. But with less than 30 seconds left, I think Bookie will at least not be last place. Boring to Die is a lap down way farther back, and Nix is just a little bit farther back. As we look at the clock, 13 seconds by my watch. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it should be up. But my clock's going up, but these two haven't stopped yet. Now they have! Oh, this could get controversial because that fight for 13th and 14th, they're right on top of each other. But your Stint 2 winner, SFM Darkser, great run in the second stint. He had to do a lot of fighting early on, though, but he did recover and bring the car home in the top spot. 4 different drivers led in the first 30 minutes, but of them all, Darkser was the only one to not have any incidents. He takes home the win. Then Kylami didn't lead any laps, but had a really strong day. He will come home in second in the stint. Third place will be AWR Nismo. Maybe not the third fastest driver on track, but when it came to driver versus driver combat, he was one of the best, and that's going to be what matters. Zula has dropped out. I don't know what happened there, but Zula has just dropped out. That's going to be frustrating, because that will make it really hard, because Zula was recorded as being in 5th position. Mind you, Zula was 5th. I don't know why they've dropped out, but Zula was 5th there. Salty is in 4th, completely lost touch with Nismo and threw away a lot of good time there at the end of the event. Zula was 5th, Exploit would have finished in 6th position. 7th will be Clashin54. Again, Clashin had a horrible run in Stint 1, but has rebounded in Stint 2, went from finishing in 15th to finishing in 7th. So good job on their part. Nebel trying to make something happen with the Cadillac. This thing is a beast to fight against, but it just seems to tear up the tires and does not have the handling it needs. Falls to an 8th place finish. Chris Slow in the last 2 minutes of the race got by Izzy, will come home in the 9th position. Izzy will be in 10th in the Acura. ZR Fabrics, who we really didn't see at any point in the race, will be 11th. X3 Art will be 12th. There. Then 13th will be RZX Nick. No, 13th will either be Nix or Bookie. I can't tell who's going to be where in that scenario. Bookie also has dropped out. And then in 15th position, last of everyone running, it will be Born Age or Die. Horrible, horrible run for the Porsche, sad to say. So again, we're not going to talk to Darkser at the end of this stint. Our focus will be on talking with Kylami and Nismo if they are able to talk with us. But Darkser is your Stint 2 winner. Bit of confusion here apparently between Salty and Nismo. Don't know what's going on here. It seems like Salty has backed out or something and has moved the car ahead. Don't know what's going on here. He's the only car moving. Huh. That's weird. Salty was 4th at the line, and now we're seeing other drivers drop out and leave, so I have no idea what's going on here. All right, now I'm seeing drivers move a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and send out invites to AWR, Nismo, and Kylami. But yeah, Dark Series, your winner. Kylami comes home 2nd, Nismo in 3rd. Oh boy, a lot of drivers all of a sudden backed out. Now Kylami might be going right away to another event. It looks like only 5 drivers are still here. Not really sure what's going on there, but curious if Nismo will be willing to jump in and talk with us at the least. I'm not going to try and talk with Kylami if they're going to end up being busy. But... all right, here we are. Kylami is coming into the party right now. Kylami, go ahead, include your audio. 2nd place finish. Pretty solid drive out there. What do you have to say about your run today?
First of all, I don't speak English, so I don't know if you will understand what I say.
It's
you
fine.
Hear me?
Yep,
okay.
I hear you. It's okay. Speak your native language if you want.
Speak my language?
Yeah, go ahead. If you want, go for it.
Okay, no, but it was a good race. I think it was my best race since I started Forza a year ago. So that's all.
Right. Who is your teammate for Stint 3?
It's Darken.
All right. Thank you very much. Great job out there on 2nd. We look forward to seeing what you can do going forward, mate.
Sorry, if you can repeat slowly, please.
Great job out there. I look forward to seeing what your team can do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
All right. And that is from Kylami, who came home 2nd in our 2nd C Lobby stint here for TORA's 9-hour event. Have not gotten a word from AWR Nismo. It may be a case that they are going ahead and getting prepared for the next stint in Stint 3. If they're going back-to-back, then I do want to apologize for Nismo. I am not trying to be annoying or anything. But if that was the case, I do apologize for that. But yeah, with that in mind, I am going to go ahead and close this stream down a little bit early. Didn't burn up a lot of time, so I'm going to close the stream down. In about 10 to 15 minutes, we'll be back underway to start our our third lobby of the day, for our 3rd stint of the day for the C lobby. Look for Darkster to maybe go back-to-back on stint wins. Keep an eye on that. But until that time, I've been your host for today's broadcast in St. Lear 13. I'll be back in about 10 to 15 minutes for Stint 3 for the C Lobby. Till then, thank you and goodbye.